Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that second video just to make you think. Now we see China moving up to global dominance. Now with the Belt and Road, they want to dominate global trade. And we know, guys, this is the New World Order's plan. We gave China all of our technology, military technology. Went over the videos with Anthony Sutton, but you have over 70 countries that are involved in the Belt and Road project, and the United States is sitting on the sidelines looking in. And we know, guys, once they start up this digital yuan, and we know it's coming right around the corner, this will bring their poor into the middle class, kill the dollar. But yes, the dollar will be hit, but of course it's going to be digital. But the fact is, China is going to be that new empire. United States is going to take the step back like I went over time and time again. But y'all enjoy the video.
The Silk Road was an ancient and legendary road that brought wealth for centuries between the East and West. Now, as China enters the world stage, one of its primary missions is to bring that source of wealth back. Spanning multiple oceans and continents, China's new Silk Road is a colossal effort that promises global supremacy. But in order to truly understand the potential of a new Silk Road, we need to go back in time. In 130 BCE, Emperor Shu of the Han Dynasty ruled over vast parts of what we know today as Eastern China. Shu, facing mounting threats from the north, wanted a solution that would quickly get rid of the invasions and also expand his empire at the same time. Rather than push north, he decided to expand west. Shu's decision to expand the Han Dynasty westwards set the foundation for a trade route between China and Europe. And eventually, a road would stretch from the city of Xi'an in the east to the north coast of the Mediterranean Sea. For 2,500 years, the route dominated global trade. Legendary explorers like Marco Polo took that road from Italy to China, bringing things like horses and honey eastwards. And in return, Europe received gunpowder, paper, and most importantly, silk for the first time, which then lent its name to the road ever after. In fact, it was not until the Portuguese discovered a sea route between Europe and Asia that could bypass the Silk Road entirely that an alternative existed. However, within the century, sea travel to the Far East would then overtake the Silk Road. And by the mid-1400s, China's lucrative trading path faded from existence. Until now. In 2013, Chinese President Xi Jinping announced that he was going to revive that ancient Silk Road. At first, it was a hard concept to grasp. He called it the One Belt, One Road project. But as it slowly unfolded over the next few years and billions of dollars flowed out of China and into the hands of capital-hungry developing countries, it became clear what it was really meant to be. It was a colossal design that aimed to put China front and center on the world stage. The Belt and Road Initiative, as it's now renamed, started with 3 roads. The first over land, reviving that ancient road to Rome. The second over sea, linked China to the Mediterranean through the Indian Ocean. The third, through the internet, called the Digital Silk Road, that linked countries already signed on to the first 2 routes, but taking that relationship with partnerships for things like telecommunications and digital payments to the next level. But the Grand Chinese project quickly ran into a massive roadblock led by its #1 economic rival, the United States. As China handed out trillions of dollars in seemingly no-strings-attached loans, they were in fact high-interest or conditional offers, which many of the countries found difficult to repay. This created a unique situation where the Chinese could easily seize collateral from these countries to recoup their investments. That's exactly what happened in Sri Lanka. The Chinese took control of a strategic port called HAMBANTOTA, which then set off alarm bells in DC.
China uses so-called debt diplomacy to expand its influence. Today, that country is offering hundreds of billions of dollars in infrastructure loans, yet the terms of those loans are opaque at best. Just ask Sri Lanka.
That rhetoric has been intensifying, with the Chinese now deciding to add a fourth road to the Belt and Road Initiative, a polar Silk Road. In January 2018, President Xi announced that China was going to develop new shipping routes in the Arctic. It was going to team up with Russia to develop energy and infrastructure projects in the Arctic Circle. But by this time, DC had heard enough. The Silk Road's Leviathan-like nature and larger-than-life ambitions were becoming a threat to America.
Being attempts to develop critical infrastructure using Chinese money, Chinese companies, and Chinese workers. Our Pentagon warned just last week that China could use its civilian research presence in the Arctic to strengthen its military presence. We need to examine these activities closely.
But as China threatens the global world order, becoming a major adversary to the United States and challenging its hegemony with its visionary plan with the new Silk Road,
America has dominated global finance since the end of the Second World War, when the current system was built.
Designed to establish the economic foundations of peace on the bedrock of genuine international cooperation.
But the economic disaster caused by the coronavirus pandemic could signal a new chapter in financial history, with America's leadership called into question.
COVID-19 has shown that America is failing to sort out its own affairs at home, let alone provide global leadership.
$484 billion for loans after the first round of funding ran out.
Another huge spike in unemployment claims.
With a vacuum emerging at the top of the financial order, China is vying to compete for greater control.
This is not a case of China becoming Wall Street overnight. The crisis has provided China with an opportunity to show what it's capable of doing, which, in the long run, will tip the balance of power.
In global finance, America is king. It controls the world's financial plumbing and accounts for almost a quarter of the world economy. The dollar makes up most central bank reserves and is the currency of international trade. 80% of global supply chains use dollars, which gives America significant power.
Whoever controls the flows of money at the end of the day controls a lot of things in the economy and ends up being the puppet master of a lot of things that go on around the world.
China hopes to correct this imbalance.
There is a growing call from the international community for reforming the global economic governance system, which is a pressing task for us.
It already has the world's second largest economy. Its banks are enormous. The banking sector has been growing fairly steadily for the past 10 years, while in America, bank assets have remained relatively stable. And with European banks' assets falling, Chinese banks now have more assets than those in Europe or America. But most of their business is within China. Chinese banks account for only 7% of cross-border lending. So the bank's vast size hasn't translated into influence within the world's financial system yet.
Its banks are becoming more active overseas. They are lending to companies, in particular Chinese companies that are globalizing. China is also giving its own currency a more prominent role. In commodities market, it has convinced a few companies to use the currency. Rio Tinto, which is one of the largest iron ore miner in the world, issued its first contract in yuan last year.
The COVID-19 pandemic could increase China's financial influence.
China is now sharing its experience with the rest of the world and providing much-needed supplies.
30 tons of equipment to Italy, 500,000 surgical masks to Spain.
Following the outbreak in Wuhan, China has positioned itself as a global leader, containing the outbreak, agreeing to deals to suspend repayment of some of its loans, and charging ahead with vaccine development.
The COVID crisis, at least so far, has cast a negative shadow on the capacity for leadership of America. It did not try or even show interest in marshalling a global response to this crisis.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle, it will disappear.
This could offer an opportunity for China because it's tried to fill the vacuum that America has left in terms of global leadership.
China's tough response to the crisis and the growing size and depth of its financial markets have helped convince investors it's a safe bet, even as COVID sent other markets crashing. While emerging markets saw the value of bonds plummet earlier this year, China's government bonds remained stable, which is a good gauge of trust in a country's economy.
So China has the second biggest bond market in the world. COVID provided the first tests that this bond market could resist a crisis in a way that typically emerging market bonds don't. It shows investors trust China as an economy that they don't think it's going to collapse overnight.
As well as improving its reputation with international investors, China hopes to increase its hold over how money moves around the world. America has huge influence over the current system, thanks to SWIFT, the world's largest network for transferring money. It's a messaging system that allows financial institutions to communicate. It's meant to be geopolitically neutral. But because a majority of SWIFT transactions are in dollars, and these are routed through New York, America has used the system to choke its adversaries. Russia feared being excluded after its invasion of Crimea, and some Iranian banks were blocked from using the system in 2018 to enforce US sanctions.
So SWIFT is based in Belgium, so it is supposed to be neutral. However, America has a strong influence over it. America can also threaten SWIFT with sanctions if SWIFT does not do what America wants. This is very upsetting for its allies, which would rather the system stays neutral and for the benefit of everyone.
For now, China can't hope to challenge America's dominance of SWIFT. Instead, Chinese companies are targeting a different part of the financial system, the way in which consumers spend their money. Most consumer payments rely on American giants Visa and MasterCard. But Chinese tech companies have developed a series of apps that disrupt this system. Rather than using bank accounts or credit cards for transactions, consumers load money into digital wallets. Consumers can then do almost anything, from paying parking fines to making investments or ordering taxis, without any of this money flowing through the banks, creating a parallel financial ecosystem.
This is potentially very disruptive to the financial system. It changes the way the money moves around the world. It empowers a new set of companies which are so big that even the Chinese government is scared of them.
Last year, Chinese customers made mobile payments worth a total of $49 trillion. And the two main Chinese companies offering this tech, Tencent and Ant Financial, are enormous, with 1 billion users each. COVID-19 may increase their reach.
People are doing more shopping online, trying to stay away from cash, which is seen as a potential contaminant. And this is all to the benefit of electronic payment firms.
Ant Financial and Tencent are already expanding overseas. Ant Financial's app, Alipay, is accepted in 56 countries and regions. And other digital wallet firms are buying into their tech. Alipay's QR format has already been adopted by 6 European mobile wallets.
America has reasons to be worried about the Chinese giants. They are getting bigger in the region because they are investing the wallets in Southeast Asia and beyond. And in effect, it creates a system that is not reliant on American companies, American standards, American norms.
But China faces a major obstacle. Much of the world distrusts its intentions.
China denying a cover-up.
Where top Chinese officials kept it quiet.
After all, Chinese leaders initially denied and covered up the spread of COVID-19.
There is always a doubt about what is the ultimate objective that China is pursuing in being so collaborative at the present time. is not always transparent about the truth and what happens in its own country. In a global financial system, you need transparency, you need to know the facts, what's going on, to make sure the system is in good health.
As China's financial sphere of influence grows, it's unclear whether it will complement America's by creating more competition or undermine the existing system.
In the end, what we could see is the fragmentation of the global financial system in an America-dominated sphere and a China-dominated sphere. These two systems don't have to be mutually exclusive, they could actually collaborate with each other. If they do, great. If they don't, then it will be harder to move money around the world. It will be a costlier, a more dangerous financial system, and in the end, most people will lose out.
China may not become the dominant force in global finance anytime soon, but COVID-19 is helping to fast-track its progress. And as the world recovers from the virus and economies begin to open up, China will be well placed to make significant gains.
And guys, we see how the C word started in China, happened to start in China, when we're moving over to this digital economy, which favors China. So I just want to make sure y'all understand how the New World Order works. They create the problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. And right now, China is going to be that new empire because they're already set up for this new digital economy. Y'all have a wonderful day.